Good evening. I'd like to call the May 23rd, 2017 Longmont City Council to order. This is a regular session. Could we please start with the roll call?
Yes, Mayor Coombs.
Here.
Council members Bagley.
Here.
Christensen. Finley. Here. Moore.
Here.
Peck. Here. Santos. Here. Mayor Coombs, we have a quorum.
Okay, let's stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Anyone wishing to speak at first call, public invited to be heard, will need to add his or her name on the list outside the chambers. Only those on the list will be invited to speak at first call, public invited to be heard. Speakers who do not place their name on the list will have an opportunity to speak during final call, public invited to be heard, or any of the public hearing items during the meeting. So we don't have any meetings to approve. Oh, we do. Yeah, we got the May 2nd regular session meetings to approve. Councilmember Finley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I move approval of the May 2nd minutes.
Second. All right, that's been moved and seconded. Let's vote. And that passes 6-0 with Councilmember Christensen absent. Valerie, are there any agenda revisions?
Mayor Coombs, there was just one little one. I sent out a revised agenda and also posted and published it. For some reason, we had a January 24th public hearing date on item 8D. It should have been June 13th.
Okay. All right. Is there a report from the city manager?
No report, Mayor, Council.
Okay. So now we have a proclamation designating June 2nd, 2017 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in Longmont, Colorado. And Audrey Wilcox and Julie Benoit are here to accept the proclamation. So I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. A proclamation designating June 2nd, 2017 as Gun Violence Awareness Day in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas every day, 93 Americans are killed by gun violence and more than 200 sustain non-fatal firearm injuries. And whereas someone is killed in Colorado with a gun every 16 hours, and the rate of suicide by firearm surpasses the rate of motor vehicle fatalities in Colorado. And whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people. And whereas to honor the lives and lost human potential of Americans stolen by gun violence, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 2nd as National Gun Violence Awareness Day, in which anyone can participate by wearing orange. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, I, Dennis L. Coombs, Mayor, by the virtue of authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim June 2nd, 2017 as Gun Violence Awareness Day in Longmont and encourage residents to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. So if you'd like to come down and make a few comments.
On? Okay. I have to say I'm not a natural-born public speaker. I appreciate all of you. I wanted to thank everybody in Longmont for the opportunity to bring this issue to a little bit of a light here in our local community. Some of us have been involved both personally and with this organization for quite a long time, and this is something that's we'd really like to bring more attention to. And this year, here in Longmont, on June 3rd, we'll be having a picnic to help, just kind of give some of the tidbits and information out about not only our organization, but also how many people are affected by gun violence every day in this country. It's a shame how many. And I have, I wear a survivor pin because, okay, so I'm not going to cry. But anyhow, I'm one of the ones who has been personally affected, and there's so many of us. But my sister was killed 10 years ago in gun violence, and so I come out for her. But anyhow, I just wanted to invite everybody to our picnic on June 3rd from 11 to 1 in Thompson Park, and we'll be putting some ribbons on trees just to help show some of the statistics around gun violence. Another thing that our group does as a national effort, we give information to the congressmen and our local representatives so that they can help enact common sense gun violence, common sense gun laws in the states and then nationally. So we do some things nationally as well as locally. So another thing that we'll be doing around this June 3rd event is the week of June 2nd, we'll have Orange, it's called Orange Skyline, and so we'll be looking for businesses around Longmont to light their businesses with orange lights in the evening. So take a look for those, and we really appreciate the businesses. So far we've got the Longmont Youth and Family Services as well as some YMCA. So hopefully more than that, and keep you informed. We'll be having an opportunity to put an article in the newspaper in a couple days. So hopefully I'll be a little more coherent. I'm not so super good at this, but I just wanted to thank you for recognizing us and let us have the opportunity to put our information out. So,
Well, thank you. So I guess Kent William, Colorado Municipal League curriculum writer and trainer, is here to tell us about the Lynn Hennepel.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Kent Wellman. I am the curriculum writer and trainer for Lessons in Local Government. Lessons in Local Government is a educational program sponsored by the Colorado Municipal League and the Special District Association. And the idea behind the curriculum is to create active, engaged citizens by connecting kids and city councils and other forms of local government. This year, we decided to give out a Lessons in Local Government Creating Effective Citizens Award to a teacher who's been instrumental in helping to create our program and instrumental in doing some work with, I think you'll be familiar with here in the city of Longmont. This year, we're thrilled to honor Lynn Hannipol with the Lessons in Local Government Creating Effective Citizens Award. As you know, the Times Call has a motto. The motto is, to build a better world, start in your own community. Lynn Hannipol treats that like a lesson plan. And she has been actively engaged with the city in a number of different, or with Lessons Local Government in a number of different ways. She was a curriculum writer, writing 2 lessons at least, one called James Gets Involved, another called Larry the Lion is Loose, that's designed for elementary students. She also was a winner of one of our first poster contests called Local Government in Action, and I believe she worked real closely with former City Council member Sarah Levinson on that particular project. And she's been a local leader in the classroom participant, inviting leaders and other city council folks to visit her classroom. She's a builder of bridges between our city and schools, between families and government, and between leaders and kids. She does all of this in Indian Peaks Elementary that has a free and reduced population of 93% and an 84% ELL population. And her students walk out feeling empowered because they are. I think you'll remember maybe a year or so ago when they were redoing the park there by Indian Peaks Elementary. The city, to its credit, reached out to Kathy Walter, the principal, and to Lynn, and engaged the entire community, the entire school, the entire community in redesigning that park. And as a result, now the park is a spot of pride in the community and a feeling where those folks that live in that area are engaged with our town. Before I go much further, I want to say how thankful we are from Lessons in Local Government for Longmont's involvement with engaging citizens here in the schools and young citizens in the schools. I spent a lot of time training teachers to how to engage with local leaders, and not a training goes by that I'm not mentioning your names and the city council and providing examples of how the city of Longmont has reached out to the schools and shown kids that that government's not something you learn about, but something that you do. And I want to say I want to give a big thank you to the city of Longmont for its support of Lessons in Local Government and teaching kids about the importance of being involved. You know, you can't measure learning like this with a standardized test. You can only measure it with the health of our communities. And I think Longmont's health is largely a result of the work that you've done and the work Lynn has done. I'd like to invite Lynn up. Because of work, Lynn, congratulations. I should tell one quick little story about Lynn. She'll probably get mad at me about this one. Lynn is going to retire at the end of this year, and well, actually, I'm going to tell two stories. The kind of teacher she is, she's giving away all of her books to her students, and starting with their own libraries. The other story is Lynn was a lifelong learner as a teacher and just recently returned from an educational trip to Cuba. And I would like to point out that it was during that trip that Castro passed away, and many people think it's not a coincidence.
I'd just like to say a few words. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Wellman. I'm honored to receive this award from the Colorado Municipal League. I would like to thank the Colorado Municipal League for the opportunity to develop lessons for elementary teachers to teach about local government. These lessons teach children how citizens become involved in their communities, how citizens can advocate for changes or improvements in their communities, and how local government works with communities to find solutions to problems or concerns. So teaching about local government has given my students insights into their future roles as citizens. For teachers, the incentives to teaching about government are the opportunities to make civic learning experiences enduring and memorable for children. For it's the children who are the future of our democracy. Thank you.
Okay, so first call, public invited to be heard. Anna Rivas.
Hi, my name's Anna, and I live on Nelson Road, and I'm here to speak about the prairie dogs at the Great Western Flex building land. Long before this was Longmont, it was a prairie ecosystem inhabited by a plethora of prairie species. Central to this ecosystem were the prairie dogs, who lived in family groups within vast colonies. But people came and started to develop the land, and little by little, slowly at first, and then at an increasing pace, the land was converted from prairies to buildings, roads, and parking lots. The prairie dog colonies were fragmented, isolated from each other, and boxed into smaller and smaller parcels. The prairie dogs on the Great Western Flex building land are descendants of the prairie dog families that inhabited what is now Longmont way before any of our families arrived. I personally have lived in the area since 1994, and during that time I have seen colony after colony wiped out for development. Although officially Longmont has a policy that states relocation is an option, it has been almost 20 years since any prairie dogs were relocated. During that time, thousands of prairie dogs have been subjected to horrible deaths via poison and by being buried alive. It's time to stop dousing them with poison and burying them as if they were an invasive weed. The truth of the matter is that they are a very important native species that we have thoughtlessly and recklessly massacred. They didn't invade our homes. We invaded their homes. There's so much violence and wanton killing in this world already. I ask you to extend some kindness and compassion towards the Great Western Prairie Dogs. Please use your authority to press for passive relocation while we work on finding a new home that will accommodate all of them. And I also wanted to leave you with this quote. I don't know if you've heard it before, perhaps you have. We need another and a wiser and perhaps a more mystical concept of animals. In a world older and more complete than ours, they move finished and complete. Gifted with extensions of the senses we have lost or never attained, living by voices we shall never hear. They are not brethren, they are not underlings, they are other nations caught with ourselves in the net of life and time, fellow prisoners of the splendor and travail of the earth. Thank you.
Thank you. Please no clapping. Meredith Anderson, please. Be sure to state your name and your address.
Council members, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Meredith Anderson, and I live in Westminster, Colorado. And I relocated to Colorado over 4 decades ago. And of course, I was drawn to the mountains, as everyone is. But as I continued to live here and became a bird watcher, my attention was more and more focused on the Great Plains that occupy more than 2/3 of this state. When I first got here, the prairie dogs really captured my heart. We don't have prairie dogs in New England. They're not a nuisance, they're a treasure. You've very wisely built into your own rules and regulations time to let due process take its course in matters like this. The prairie dogs need you as their advocates. The ones at the sugar mill, again, as the first speaker said, have been there far longer than any of us, their ancestors have. You can do the right thing. You can do the compassionate thing. You have that power. That's an awesome power to have. And it's not as though Longmont weren't a very thriving community. It is. But the glass and the steel and the roads and the bricks can give a community muscle, but it can't give a community heart. People who locate in a community want to do the right thing. And whether it's pets or wildlife or our kids, we want them to thrive. I just want to implore you to please do the right thing for these animals. You can, and I think we all should very strongly consider doing the best thing for these animals. They don't need to be exterminated. Thank you very much.
I'd like to remind the audience that we don't clap at the public invited to be heard. Ingrid Ingrid More.
Hello again. Good evening, Mayor Coombs and members of the council. My name is Ingrid More. I live at 925 Little Leaf Court. I'm here tonight to ask you to approve Resolution 2017-53, protecting and supporting pollinators in the city of Longmont. But this resolution is about more than insects. We have converted an enormous amount of original habitat to agriculture and cities, and have in most cases created a virtual food desert of paved parking lots, acres of sterile lawns, manicured golf courses and parks, and monocultured farms for insects and wildlife. So this is more than a feel-good resolution. It signifies that we are rethinking how we coexist with other species and are purposefully leaving enough unpoisoned habitat to allow them to avoid extinction. The good news is that nature is very resilient and has some capacity to rebound given an opportunity. By minimizing poisons, naturalizing our parks and open spaces, and using native plants where possible, we can promote healthy and insect and wildlife populations. This is going in the right direction. The Longmont Coalition for People and Pollinators thanks the Public Works and Natural Resources Department staff, Bob Allen, Dan Wolford, and in particular, David Bell, who was instrumental for us to arrive at this mutually agreeable resolution. And thanks also to Councilman Jeff Moore for introducing our request to Council. And finally, thanks to Council for voting to move this forward after the February 14th meeting. Our meetings with Mr. Bell affirmed that many of our recommended practices were already being used by the city. It was nice to find that we were both moving in the same direction, and it made me very proud of the city of Longmont. Therefore, by adopting this resolution, Longmont will formalize something they're already doing and so receive the recognition they deserve. I end with a quote by the very wise Chief Justice of the Nez Perce people, who said, "What is man without the beasts? If all the beasts were gone, men would die of great loneliness of spirit. For whatever happens to the beasts also happens to man. All things are connected." I hope you will approve this resolution. It's a good thing to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Don Murray.
Good evening, Mayor Coombs and members of the council. My name is Don Murray. I live at 6 Princeton Circle in Longmont. I'm here tonight to ask you to support the Pollinator Protection Resolution. I'm also a member of the Longmont Coalition for People and Pollinators, and we've been working with the city staff to come up with a resolution that aligns with Longmont's goals in the master and sustainability plans, reduces or eliminates toxic poisons in our environment, and provides healthy habitat for pollinators. As you all know, as I said back in February, pollinators of all kinds are critically important part of our agriculture and food systems. The loss of habitat and food supply for pollinators through the use of pesticides, development resulting in habitat loss, and other negative environmental impacts are contributing to a decline in their populations. As a beekeeper, I've seen firsthand the effects of inappropriate applications of pesticides can have on a colony of bees. In our discussions with staff, it's been gratifying to see that Longmont has already been working on ways to reduce the use of harmful poisons and increase safe habitats, as you can see from the packet that staff gave you. But there's no overarching policy in place. This resolution takes the next step to provide a blueprint that all city entities can use as a guideline for protecting pollinators and its citizens from poisons. For our part, LCPP has been working on, will continue to work on, educating Longmont citizens to the dangers faced by pollinators so that burden doesn't fall completely on city staff. We're working to create pollinator-safe neighborhoods in the city, and since February, we've provided presentations at city events at Sandstone Ranch, the Longmont Museum, and Cinco de Mayo. So we're trying to work well with the city on these issues. When we tell people that the city is considering a resolution to protect pollinators, overwhelmingly they say, yes, thank you. So there really seems to be an ever-growing buzz of concern by many in Longmont around pesticide issues and protection of our pollinators. It would be wonderful if the city would join the general Longmont population in responding and taking action on this issue. In the recent legislative session, the state of Colorado overwhelmingly declared a section of I-76 as a protected pollinator highway, a sign that even in a divided legislature, this is an issue with broad support. With approval of this resolution, Longmont joins other cities across our county, state, and country that are taking a stand against poisoning our environment and protecting pollinators. The motion to come up with a resolution supporting pollinator protection that was put forth by Councilman Moore was put forward on Valentine's Day and received a majority of support from Council to investigate this issue. So I hope you'll continue to show the love for pollinators tonight and vote unanimously on this resolution. And instead of having speaker after speaker come up here and tell you the same thing I did, we brought a bunch of people to wear green, and they can all stand up to show our support. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is Suzanne Summers.
Hi, my name is Susan Summers. I'm a Longmont resident, and I'm here tonight to ask that the city require a passive relocation of the 2.6 acres of prairie dogs on the Great Western Flex Building development site. The city's own development code states the following: before the commencement of construction on the development site, any black-tailed prairie dogs inhabiting portions of the site that shall be disturbed shall be relocated according to a relocation plan approved by the city. Only after a good faith effort to relocate the prairie dogs and after consultation with the city about alternatives may an applicant eradicate the prairie dogs. During the last 5 years, the city has approved the extermination of well over 1,000 prairie dogs for development. Not one relocation has occurred. In fact, the city has not relocated prairie dogs onto city property in over 20 years. I represent Prairie Protection Colorado and have been in contact with all members of the City Council and the Development Department regarding our relocation option for these prairie dogs. We have been steadfast in our attempt to communicate to the city and developer that there is a non-lethal option available on this site. Prior to today, we have been rebuffed by the developer, while according to the city's own contact log, the same developer has been continuing through the process of indicating he is making a good faith effort. Until he seriously examines the passive relocation option, he is not making a good faith effort. We are submitting that we can passively relocate these prairie dogs onto the remaining parcel, which is not under development, until such time we can find a permanent relocation site for the entire 13-acre colony. We have a very viable lead on a relocation site, and we need reasonable time to pursue this option. The developer states that he is moving forward with an extermination plan, even though he has refused a passive relocation conversation. At minimum, this developer should be required to adhere to the city's own 90-day good faith effort to pursue relocation options. We are ready to stand behind a passive relocation to clear the property by July 1st, but we need to start the process now. We will assure the developer that the prairie dogs will not be allowed to re-enter his construction site until such time as we can relocate the entire colony. The city adopted this prairie dog policy for a reason, to provide a non-lethal method for prairie dog removal. The city needs to ensure this code is adhered to. It is not the developer's decision. We would like everyone, and we have a lot of people here in green tonight as well. I'd like to ask that they stand up in support of a passive relocation for these prairie dogs. And also, I'm a beekeeper, so vote yes on the pollinator thing. Thank you.
Okay, Jeremy Gregory.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. Thanks for allowing me a little bit of time to speak.
Yeah.
Does that sound okay? I'm a loud talker anyways. I probably don't even need this.
Yeah. So please state your name and address.
Yep. Jeremy Gregory. I live at 238 Sweet Valley Court in Longmont. I'm a third-generation Longmont native here. My family grew wheat and a variety of crops here in Longmont. I'm a proud Longmont native. I'm also a executive director for a nonprofit that focuses on humane education and eco-social justice issues. We have over 500,000 members worldwide that focus on issues from food insecurity to the relocation and preservation of our native species, flora and fauna, to the poaching pandemic. In fact, I've been really lucky to have had a chance to work with Mark Beckhoff, an internationally renowned animal ethologist and conservationist, and Jane Goodall as well. I've had the opportunity to talk with both of them leading up to this, and there's a lot of concern that there is a mentality of this profits over life, fast-tracking things to throw in development without the thought or concern of what may be living on that land. And I've also had the fortune to live in Africa and travel the world and see communities that have dealt with similar situations and have found win-win solutions to these predicaments that we're facing now. Sorry, my phone is going off on me. I'm here. I think that Longmont is not any different from any of these other communities around the state, around the country, and around the world that can find alternatives to just fast-tracking and poisoning or gassing other species in the name of growth. I think we can do it where everything benefits. So I'm imploring you that, as Suzanne just shared, that we find the opportunity to relocate. We have a plan. We're working with experts that have done this before and can guarantee success. We're asking that the city puts the mandate in place and basically allows, or at least forces, this developer to comply with the codes. They're there for a reason, and I'm hoping that that's what we can achieve. And so that's what I'm here for, as well as everyone behind me. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Ruby Bowman.
Hi, my name is Ruby Bowman, 1512 Left Hand Drive, and I'm here this evening to ask you to save the Great Western Flex Building prairie dogs. I have lived in Longmont for 20 years now, and in that time I've seen one after another prairie dog colony killed by one of the most inhumane and gruesome methods, aluminum phosphide poisoning. You may wonder, what exactly is this substance and how does it affect the animals being poisoned? Aluminum phosphide is a restricted use Category 1 pesticide, which is the highest toxicity category assigned and regulated by the EPA. It works by the applicator placing pellets in a burrow, then sealing the burrow's opening. The pellets react with moisture in the soil and produce phosphine gas, and the gas causes the prairie dogs to bleed out organ by organ. It's an excruciating death for the animal that can last for several days. Essentially, it is torturing our prairie dogs. I'm not naive about prairie dog issues in Longmont and Colorado. I'm well aware of the challenges of relocating prairie dogs. But there needs to be a change in how we deal with these animals on development sites, and that change needs to happen now. The following are my recommendations. The city should prioritize non-lethal methods in dealing with prairie dogs on development sites, including using passive relocation and incorporating design elements in a development that will avoid impacting prairie dogs on site. The city should charge a developer a mitigation fee for every single prairie dog the developer kills on his or her development property and assesses a permit fee if lethal control is used. The city should do open space acquisitions within Boulder County for the purpose of utilizing the acquisition as a relocation receiving site. There should be a policy in our open space master plan that states exactly that. And the city should work with our state legislators to amend current state laws so that Longmont is exempt from having to get approval from the Weld County Commissioners for a cross-county relocation to our own open space in Well. Our open space properties are within Longmont's corporate city limits, not within unincorporated. Well, it's a local control issue. Please, give the Great Western Flex Building Prairie Dogs a break and direct staff to work with advocates to save the animals. And as an aside, for 3 to 4 years, Kay Fissinger and I attended nearly every council meeting. This evening, I miss my friend Kay. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
Marion Brands.
Hello, my name is Marion Brands, and I live at 1131 Birdie Road, Broomfield, Colorado. I'm here this evening to share with you a few facts about prairie dogs so that you may take them into consideration regarding the possible mass killing of the prairie dog community located at the development site that we've been talking about. Did you know that prairie dogs are an important part of the food chain in Colorado? In fact, over 160 species of animals depend on the prairie dog for their food. Did you know the original prairie dog population has now decreased to less than 1% of its original size due to a host of pressures? Yes, they are food to other creatures, but also their habitat has been constantly encroached upon by human beings. Did you know that in contrast with popular perceptions of prairie dogs as fast multiplying rodents, these animals actually mate just one time a year? Females actually go into estrus for just 1 hour a year. They then have litters of 3 to 8 pups, usually only 1/2 survive. Please take these facts into consideration. And thank you for your time and consideration.
Laurie Stevenson.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm Laurie Stevenson, 1601 Great Western Drive, right across the street. Lots of prairie dogs around me, and I'm here as a voice for those prairie dogs. Thank you.
Joanne Peterson.
Thank you, Council. Joanne Peterson, 1007 3rd Avenue, Longmont. And I am also here to encourage you to accept and to hopefully convince the developer for the passive relocation of the 2.5 acres. This is something that can work. We do have sites that they're looking at that are very probable to relocate the entire 10-acre prairie dogs. The poisoning of the prairie dogs, and my warehouse is right out on 119, is incredible. Lot after lot after lot, poison after poison. Prairie dogs are a keystone species. They are also incredibly intelligent animals. They have the highest form of language than any land mammal. I mean, the highest form of language. They have language for a snake, for a hawk, for an eagle. And actually the hawks and eagles are also that population is dwindling too because their food source is dwindling. There is an outfit that can do the passive relocation and guarantee that those prairie dogs stay out of the 2.5 acres. And I think that this is very reasonable. And there are a lot of people that are supporting the prairie dog. And I really hope that you will do so too. Thank you.
Michael Belmont.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Michael Belmont, 841 Tenacity Drive, here in Longmont. The passionate testimony of the many activists tonight is very fitting prelude for my comments. Likely you're all aware of the passing of a warrior for this community last week, Kay Fissinger. She may not be physically present, but her fiery spirit surely is and will continue to be. Every cooking pot needs a stirrer, lest we stick to the bottom. And Kay was certainly that. If you were on the other side of an issue, she was, in fact, a formidable adversary. Many of us know and have experienced that. But don't we all need a capable, passionate, persistent adversary to keep us honest, alert, and thoughtful about important issues? So, like the ghost of Jacob Marley in A Christmas Carol that returned to stir human conscience, the fiery spirit that is Kay will no doubt continue to visit us. And so I honor our fallen warrior in this, the space that she spent many hours advocating and passionately pleading for worthy issues. So to Kay Fissinger, I give honor in her memory.
Thank you. Charles Cutler.
Hi there. My name is Charles Cutler. Obviously, I live at 6391 West 60th Avenue, number 316 in Arvada. And I'm here today in support of the Sugar Mill Prairie Dogs and the passive relocation of them off the 2.6 acres of immediate concern. Animal lives matter. Animals have just as much a right to life as humans do. I don't know if anyone would disagree with that, but I don't see how you could. And killing them because they are inconvenient is immoral, inhuman, and should be criminal. What does it say about our culture, about human beings, that we even have to be here today fighting for the lives of these intelligent social creatures? The planet belongs to all life, not just human life. And we have a responsibility to protect all the life that we share with the earth. And that includes prairie dogs and pollinators, too. And we need to adopt environmental policies that reflect this responsibility. And I guess on a personal note, I've been here in Colorado from the East Coast 3 years now. The very first thing I saw when I started work was a colony of prairie dogs. And I just thought they were amazing, along with the other wildlife, the rabbits, the squirrels, all the birds. And even when times are tough and when it seems like nothing can make me smile, whenever I see them, and no matter what's going on in my life, they just make me smile. I just think they're amazing, amazing creatures, as I do all wildlife. So, thanks for your time.
Mary Timmer.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. I have to tell you, I'm absolutely terrified to be up here. I live at 230 Monroe Avenue in Loveland, and I'm a cancer survivor. And what I've learned is that all life is precious, not just my life, every life. Please take the time, put in the effort, find the compassion to save these sentient creatures. Be good stewards of the earth. Thank you.
Tim Brode. And he'll be followed by Karen Dyke.
Mayor, council members, thank you. My name is Tim Broad. I live at 110 Gardner Drive here in Longmont. I also have a business here in Longmont at 1045 Kaufman. The name of my business is Highland Bees. I've been working with pollinators, and particularly honeybees, for almost 50 years. All of us are well aware that pollinators in general are crashing, and there's multifactorial reasons as to why that's going on. And regardless of any of our place or political views in life, there's a constellation of reasons that are contributing to this. I think it's really important that we as a community take a step to, at the very least, grab the low-hanging fruit. The low-hanging fruit of this is habitat. To protect habitat, to create habitat, and to take steps in that direction will go a long ways towards beginning to turn back the tide of pollinator decline. It is by no means the end of this conversation, but it's a very, very important one. Just by some kind of a sad coincidence, 2 days ago, I was given a citation on my house for having dandelions. And I kind of appreciated the irony of it in that we want to give people citations for having dandelions and support the use of pesticides and herbicides. And I urge us as a community, we just want to examine our contradictions. We want to act as role models. Pollinator issues affect every single one of us. And I'm here to support the Pollinator Act and to support the decision-making of this council. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Dyke.
I want to start by thanking Michael for his words about Kay. Kay's passing won't end our resolve to keep the city free from fracking. The research continues to support our concerns regarding the effects to our health. Air studies confirm the pollution of our air, giving us an F from the American Lung Association. The explosion in Firestone confirms our warnings about safety. We recently had an educational event with nearly 100 people in attendance. There are many of us who remain very committed to keeping Longmont safe from fracking. I want to thank Harold and the city staff who came and spent an hour with us answering some of the questions that we had earlier posed to this council. So thank you, Harold, and the people who came. We really appreciated that. And I'll just end by saying we need to protect the prairie dogs and save our bees. This world needs a little kindness in it. So protect people, prairie dogs, and bees. Thanks.
Thank you. Tim Ziegler?
Hello, Mayor and City Council. My name is Tim Ziegler. I live at 713 Wade Road in Longmont. I've lived in Longmont since 1980, and I'm just speaking in favor of the motion to protect pollinators and bees in our community. I don't have as much of a presentation. It's been pretty much said what needs to be said so far, but just as a citizen, I would like to just speak in favor of this motion. Let's do whatever we can to save the bees. We depend on them. I don't have a beehive, but I have a yard with lots of flowers in it, and used to be there would be swarms of bees all over the flowers and bushes. Today I'm lucky if I see one, so please support this measure.
Strider Benston.
I'm Strider Benston. I also honor Kay Fissinger, and I'm 951 17th Avenue. And I was also attending to a funeral today, Richard Tate, younger brother of Boulder's Mayor Penfield Tate. So I'm overdressed. I read in the paper today, it's called, what's it called? Fake news. The current administration is draining the swamp by trying to exterminate the government ethics office. The administration in the White House has given secret waivers all through the executive department and the government agencies. And when the head of the government ethics office put out, let's see who these people are, he sent out a letter saying, no, don't let anybody know, this has to be secret. An example of the secrecy, you know that anyone looking into the Trump-Russia game is being fired step by step. General Flynn, Sally Yates, James Comey, all the way down the line. A little interesting meeting. By the way, treason is being conducted every day by the administration. The Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, MBZ, Zayed, held a secret meeting in the Seychelles Islands for 2 days, consisting of Eric Prince, the founder of Blackwater Military Private Army, brother of Betsy DeVos, Jared Kushner, the brother-in-law of the president, General Flynn, who has pled the Fifth Amendment, Sergei Lavrov and Sergio Kislyak, and I believe Steve Bannon. What did they have to discuss secretly for 2 full days in the Seychelles before the current administration took office? The Steve Bannon deconstruction of what he calls the bureaucratic state means the deconstruction of American society. If we don't stop this before it consolidates, we will no longer have a republic. Thank you.
Thank you. Kay Clements. Is there, okay. Right here.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Kay Clements. I live at 10505 North 65th Street, Longmont, Colorado. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Prairie Dogs. Much of what I came to say has been said, but I would implore the City Council and the Mayor's Office to utilize the laws at its disposal to support Prairie Protection of Colorado. They have a proven track record of relocating prairie dogs and working very well with willing developers. And I think the office, your office, should force the developers to work well with Prairie Protection Colorado. They've already come in with a compromise situation of guaranteeing that they're going to keep the prairie dogs from re-inhabiting the land that is being developed pending their relocation, permanent relocation. Boulder County has land available, and I know that Prairie Protection of Colorado has worked with Boulder County. They're talking about working with Weld County as well. So I would implore you to use your office to enforce the laws at your disposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that ends public invited to be heard.
Here comes Mayor Coombs. Your consent agenda is item 8A, ordinance 2017-30, an ordinance authorizing the issue. Oh, you want
Councilmember Peck?
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I want to thank everybody who came tonight speaking about protecting our Longmont, our animals and our people. And Harold, would it be possible to have a report from Dan Wolford as to what they are doing on that site with prairie dogs, an update? And are we willing, and I'm asking, can we work with the groups that are trying to relocate these prairie dogs? Do we have relocation places in Longmont, et cetera?
So the presentation is actually going to be multifaceted because
the requirements that we have for how we handle it as an organization is different than the ordinance that's in place. Our organizational requirements have more processes. What I can tell you is I have seen an email from Mr. Welch to Deanna Meyer, who is with Prairie Protection Colorado, trying to set up a meeting for this Friday. So I know that email, that conversation, I think, is in the works. And in that meeting, we will have, I think it will be the owner, the builder, whomever Deanna has in the meeting, and then we will have city staff present. So we can bring a presentation. There's different pieces to that and different individuals. So obviously Joni will handle the development piece. David Bell will handle a piece as we look to that. But that is something we can look to do.
And this will happen or before the developer goes to extermination?
Well, so I think there's going to be a conversation between the developer and this group. The developer's going through the process.
Okay.
And so the developer has to go through that first phase. One piece that I guess I'm saying in this is that the developer is trying to schedule a meeting for this Friday.
Okay, great.
To discuss with the group.
Okay.
But you have the ordinance that's in place that really regulates those actions. And I guess I'll turn to Eugene to see if there's any more he wants to add about the ordinance.
Okay, so we'll just wait until that meeting.
Right. So there's a meeting they're trying to schedule a meeting right now.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bagley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. There are certain, I usually don't address public invited to be heard comments, but when there's a big group like this, whether it be the topic of Sanctuary City or tonight it's prairie dogs, I think it's appropriate. Thoughts that came to my mind, first of all, I love animals. My wife yells at me for feeding the orphaned baby raccoons. I don't kill spiders or bugs inside. I postcard it out. And the idea of senselessly killing any type of animal, I think, it's something that pulls at the heartstrings and something I don't condone. However, as an attorney, 2 comments. One is that it is impossible to rewrite the law, meaning that we're stuck with whatever law we have, and you can't force a developer to do something outside the law. However, in reading the law, it says that the developer should use good faith efforts. And what I'm hearing is, and I don't know whether or not this is true, but what I'm hearing is that you've got a group that's willing to assist and guarantee that we can relocate the prairie dogs from the 2 acres to the other acreage and give them time to relocate. That would seem that the definition of good faith would be to actually look into that. And so not doing that, I would argue, would be a violation of our city ordinance. So I just think we should follow the law, which is our ordinance, and then let the chips fall where they may.
And I think that's a conversation occurring Friday.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Valerie, you can continue.
Now we're ready for consent. First item is 8A, Ordinance 2017-30, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the City of Longmont Electric and Broadband Utility Enterprise Revenue Bonds, Series 2017. Public hearing and second reading is scheduled for June 13th. Item 8B is Ordinance 2017-31, a bill for an ordinance directing city staff to process an application for outside water service on Quail Road at parcel number 13151400032, which is actually the St. Vrain Valley School District Innovation Center. And the public hearing and second reading is scheduled for June 13th. Item 8C is Ordinance 2017-32, a bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 11.04 of the Longmont Municipal Code regarding a traffic safety surcharge. Public hearing and second reading scheduled for June 13th. Item 8D is Ordinance 2017-33, a bill for an ordinance amending Title 9, Chapter 9.5 of the Longmont Municipal Code regarding illegal methamphetamine laboratories. Public hearing and second reading is scheduled for June 13th. Item 8E is ordinance 2017-34, a bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 16.08 of the Longmont Municipal Code to adopt by reference the 2017 edition of the National Electrical Code. And that public hearing and second reading is scheduled for June 13th. Item 8F is Resolution 2017-51, approving the revocable permit and agreement between the City and Union Sailing Club for sailing facilities at Union Reservoir. Item 8G is Resolution 2017-52, approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City and the Colorado Department of Transportation for grant funding for a study of operational improvements at major corridors and intersections in southwest Longmont. Item 8H is Resolution 2017-53, recognizing the importance of protecting and supporting pollinators in the City of Longmont. Item 8I is Resolution 2017-54, approving the revocable permit and agreement between the City and B Squared for beekeeping operations at Sandstone Ranch. Item 8J is approval of the Second Amendment to the BC Services Fee and Sales Tax Rebate Agreement to create tiered job creation requirements. And staff would like to pull item 8H for a brief presentation.
Councilmember Finley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I was also going to pull 8H. So I move the consent agenda minus 8H.
It's been moved and seconded. Let's vote. That passes 7-0.
Mayor Coombs, there are no items on second reading, so we are ready for 8H, which is, and David Bell will make the presentation.
Thank you, Harold. Do I have the clicker this evening, or? Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for having me up here this evening. And I do think the resolutions before you tonight is a good opportunity for me to talk about what the City of Longmont has been doing for pollinators and protecting their habitat for a long time before I got here even, and what we're looking to do from here forward to enhance that and make it even better. So again, this came forward because of members of the public. I think it's a great opportunity to remind people that we're working to protect pollinators through our open space, our parks program, and partnerships with our community. So we heard it tonight several times that habitat is a key element to pollinator health. And as you look at the resolution, you'll see pesticides is one of the reasons we've talked about trying to protect pollinators, but also habitat. Loss of habitat can come in lots of forms. Once you have native prairies, they're turned into residential areas. Organic wheat, conventional corn, or invasive species, that no longer becomes pollinator habitat. So how do we do a good job of balancing that and moving forward? Well, Longmont's already done a whole lot. You heard it tonight several times, so the public invited to be heard, providing habitat. And the city, through its open space and parks programs, has preserved a lot of area that gives us a strong backbone so that we have areas that we can have pollinators and use that area then to enhance it. So when we purchase properties, a lot of times they come not in the best shape. So those properties then have to go through, we have to do work to try to improve that habitat. Some of that is controlling noxious weeds. So as we talk about the habitat, sometimes we come into how we manage those invasive species, and that's where pesticides can come into the conversation. But again, the city has done a great job of not just going out and spraying because we have noxious weeds. We use mowing, we use mechanical methods, we use volunteers to go out and help us pull weeds before we go into those other levels of management. Once we start that managed process, we start increasing forage. So again, those sort of elements we're going to talk about are we think important as we're looking at pollinators and other species is the fact that we need the habitat and we need good forage for them. So we're doing a good job trying to increase the amount of pollinator forages out on our landscape as well. Do that in a lot of ways, and again, you'll see great partnership between the community as we do this. So we have native seed collection. So the plants we're putting out there aren't coming from Idaho or Washington or Arizona. They're actually native species that come from around the area. We're growing out some of the species right there down on Sunstead at our building facility. We're again using volunteers to take those plants and do propagation and going out and planting those on our open space properties. As you have before you tonight, we have some pollinator seed mix because, again, people come out and they want to know what they can do to help. They want to know if they just buy seed mix, throw it out in their open space to increase forage because, again, as we look at European honeybees specifically or especially coming in and mixing with our native pollinators and how they get along, having more forage out there is a big important piece of this. So as you buy native seed packages over the counter, a lot of those have California poppies or other species that aren't really native to this area. So staff has done a great job working to create a packet of seeds that if you want to put in your backyard, if you want to just throw them out in open space, you can do that. So they have all local native seeds in there. Again, you just heard the resolution allowing for beekeeping on a sandstone ranch. And we're also doing a lot of work with universities in the state and Boulder County to make sure we're doing good research out on our properties. Because people talk about decreases, increases, what's happening. It's hard to know that if you don't have baseline information, if you don't have good science out there. So we've been trying to create that as we move forward. It'd been nice to have that 20 years ago, but everyone says that. So the best time to start is now then, and we've been trying to facilitate that. When we do have to spray and when we do have our mosquito program and other pieces that come into this equation that can pose a risk to pollinators, we're using field watchers as a way of looking at where beekeepers keep their hives out in the public. We can look at those maps when we're doing applications, contact those beekeepers, so they have some choices if they want to move their bees, if they want to cover their bees, or if they want to work with us to make sure that we're doing that in a timely manner that coincides with their beekeeping. We use that as well. Also working with local businesses. In addition to the people that come and say, I'd like to just spread some seeds out there, we have business saying we'd like to do some for pollinators. So we have had businesses adopt some of our flower beds that were typically more just landscape ornamentals and gone out and help convert those into pollinator beds. Continue to work with Boulder County Parks and Open Space, People and Pollinators Action Network, and Colorado State University Extension Office to see what we can do to create. What we're looking at is these corridors. If you think of Longmont as a big piece of it, you look at the St. Vrain Greenway, our parks, how those pollinators can move along Longmont, but also say leave Longmont down through unincorporated Boulder County, the city of Boulder, and up to Fort Collins. So we're doing a lot with other organizations to make sure that this is not just an isolated effort. In the future, we're looking at, we heard that tonight again, converting some of our areas to just turf, and we're looking to say, do people really need all the turf? Is it being used appropriately, and could we turn that into more pollinator habitat? Continue funding and ongoing studies with native pollinator presence and baseline inventories. Create landscape development standards with pollinator elements, and working with Boy Scouts to create pollinator habitat. So those are small projects that allow people to, again, enhance and put out habitat for some of our native pollinators. One of the exciting things we just met the other day with Boulder County and Colorado State Extension was work with Xerces. Xerces, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're basically the Audubon Society of Invertebrates. So butterflies, beetles, bugs, and pollinators are other looking at how you can enhance the landscape for them. So Boulder County has a contract to look at how we can take some of those landscapes like farms, enhance it so that we do a better job incorporating pollinators into that landscape. They're going to come out and do that on a local farm, but they also then open that up to a one-day course so people can actually learn what's happening out there and how they can incorporate that into their own farms as well. When we talked about what we're doing here in the city, they said they'd like to also do the same thing and offer to us an opportunity to look at how we can take city parks and incorporate pollinator forage and habitat into our city parks. So one of the things I just really enjoy about this conversation is we do talk a lot about pollinators, and people when they talk about pollinators, we make sure we're broad because pollinators and ecosystems and ecosystem health is something we definitely manage for here in the city. But the bees themselves are the real workhorses of pollination. They are designed for pollination. They're obligatory pollinators. They have to eat pollen, they have to drink nectar, and they have to take it back to the hive. So their bodies are designed to collect pollen on their hairs. They then take that off their hairs. It has a charge, electrical charge on it. They move that to specialized spaces on the body, little baskets to help store that pollen and take it back. And again, we think of European honeybees a lot of times, but some of my favorites, are the native pollinators and the honey and the bumblebees as well. So with all the things that we're doing out there, the habitat we set aside, the things we're doing to try to reduce the toxicity of things we're putting into our environment, trying to look at how we work with other agencies. We also have been working with University of Colorado on some of the work they're doing down there. This is Dr. Kearns and Oliveros, and they're at the Baker Residential Academy program down at CU. So they've been monitoring bumblebees in Boulder County from the lower elevations up to the higher elevations. And again, as we start looking at what's happening to our pollinators, we know that not every place is the same. So a cornfield in the middle of Nebraska where we have corn from state line to state line is going to be different than an area like Longmont that has parks, natural areas, greenways. So as they looked at Boulder County, in 2010 they found 17 species of bumblebees. 2011 they found 18 species. 2012 20 species, 2013, 21. I just read their most recent study, and they now have 22 species of bumblebees that they found in Boulder County. A couple of those they thought were extirpated from the area. They also did another very interesting study. They found some documentation in the library showing a study back in 1907, a study of bees in Boulder County. They decided to come back a little over 100 years later, do the same area, same plots, and try to see what they found. So in 1907, they found 116 species of bees in Boulder County. Don't know the abundance, don't know how many there were, just know this many species existed. And in 2009, they came back and found 110. And they figured that's within the statistical range of being pretty much where we were at 100 years ago. And this is my last little fact that, again, I think as we talk about something that is important to people, we're doing things to improve our habitat for pollinators, but again, Longmont and Colorado I think, are in a unique situation that Colorado has the 5th highest number of documented bee species in the U.S., and Boulder County has the highest in the state. So we're doing some things very well. But I heard someone else here tonight say that we're not done. I think that's what I think is so great about Longmont. We could say these are good numbers, let's just leave it there. But we're going to continue to work with universities, work with the public to make sure we're continuing enhancing and increasing pollinator forage and habitat. So I'd like to thank staff who really helped do this for years, but also the public who is here tonight, people in Pollinator Action Network that helped us draft a document that I think reflects how we manage pollinators in urban environments with golf courses, with parks, and on open spaces. So that's my quick, brief presentation for you tonight.
Thank you, David. Councilmember Finley.
I just had a couple of questions, and they're not with your report. Your report was wonderful, and we all loved the bees. And the guy who doesn't have bees in his yard, he should come to my yard because they all came to my house. It says here in our resolution, let's see, I can't remember where it is, that whereas declines in the population of pollinators, and what you just said were the studies that for the last 4 years show an increase in Boulder County. Isn't that correct?
Yes, so I think one of the things as we look at pollinators across the country, there's areas I think with certainty you can say that there's declines. There's areas that say that we are seeing increases. But because native pollinators are so hard to monitor and so hard, it's just really hard to say with a definite answer if they're going up or down across the country. We have beekeepers that have their own hives who can talk about what's happening in their hives and on their property. So you put it all together, and I think the overarching message is declines in pollinators is not a good thing. So how do we manage that? How do we look at making sure if it's going up or down that we're still looking for healthy ecosystems that support our pollinators?
And I would agree with that. I would like, if we could, in our packet for second reading, have some data. Our resolution. This is the only time it will come up. It would have been nice to have had some actual data, because I hate passing a resolution that says one thing when actually the truth is perhaps something different.
And I will just.
Hey, it's just.
I will go ahead and just say I think the reason that staff was comfortable leaving that in there is if you look at the totality of our pollinators, from European honeybees to our native pollinators to the bumblebees, there probably is no definitive answer out there. We could go to any researcher and say, here's the answer we put in there, but we recognize that there are ups and downs in pollinators. We have seen declines in European honeybees, and that the importance of declines is something we want to pay attention to. So sure. In the totality, we felt it was a very appropriate statement.
Okay. And like I say, I don't have any problem with the resolution. There's just a couple words in here that bother me when we don't have the data.
I appreciate
On page 3, line 6, it says the city will support organic, sustainable practices on city-owned agricultural lands and consider providing incentives for such practices. There was a CSU study that in fact said that perhaps organic farming was not as sustainable as some other types. I'd feel more comfortable if we either took out organic or put in support organic and or sustainable practices, because all organic practices are not as sustainable as some other practices.
I would agree, and I think the way that, again, as we read as a staff, we worked through it, was that sustainable is a piece in there. So organic that's not sustainable is nothing that's going to get sort of that look at it, but it's a sustainable piece of agriculture that we're really concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
And organic can be more than some conventional be more than the type of operator and some organic. So it depends on the operator. So it really depends on the individual, their best practices, and what their really outcome is and how they're looking to steward the land.
So that little word bothers me in there. I would like to hear what other council members think. I could go with either organic and or sustainable, or taking out organic because sustainable also includes organic. But I don't think we can, it's erroneous to say organic sustainable practices when in fact those two things are not always the same.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for answering my questions.
Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, David. I think it would be useful if we also put out some information to the city at large, and I don't know if maybe that would be through the city line or somehow, about the problems with neonicotinoids. And is that the main pesticide, or I'm not sure whether that's a pesticide or an herbicide. Is that the main problem for bees? I mean, as far as
any pesticide,
poison.
yeah. As far as pesticides and neonicotinoids, a pesticide was specifically an insecticide, and any insecticide, conventional, organic, new off the market insecticides kill insects. So I think the big thing that any producer, farmer, anyone being responsible is using those products within the standards of the label to make sure you're applying them in the appropriate way. So that you're not impacting off-label species. But I would say any insecticide is something we need to be careful of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you. As far as what Councilman Finley was talking about, I wouldn't actually object to changing and or sustainable, because I do largely think it is the same thing. However, I don't really want to get into the GMO controversy right now. I don't think that's actually part of this. But I think this is a great program, and I'm glad we're doing it, and I think it's a good opportunity to educate the city at large about the parks and how we have moved away from golf course-like parks to something that is more sustainable for the city financially and also better for the environment. And I think that's a very good move, and this is part of what helps educate people about that. And thank you.
Councilmember Peck.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. So I read this a little bit differently on line 6, page 3. When we're talking about organic, sustainable practices on agricultural land, are you only talking about using plants for pollinators? I mean, because this whole thing is about pollinators.
Right.
Okay. So if you are talking about, the way I read this, it has to do with insecticides, sustainable practices for bees. Am I reading that correctly on agricultural land?
That's a piece of it. So yes, I think, if you look at when people think about organic systems, they're looking at more diversified systems sometimes. But insecticides, organic or conventional, as I mentioned, insecticides kill insects. So I think it's the appropriate applications of insecticides, regardless of your practice, and making sure that whatever the producer's practice are, that they're doing it in the best way practical and according to the label.
And see, I think sustainable makes sense here then, because we want to sustain the bee population, the pollinators. So if you make it and or sustainable, it should always be sustainable.
Right.
So I like the way it reads.
I guess I'm kind of, I favor the way it reads right now, too. Councilmember Bagley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. First of all, I think it's appropriate that Councilmember Moore be given the opportunity to make the motion. But I was just going to say, why not just replace the word organic with environmentally friendly? That would solve everybody's problem. Not that we're wordsmithing your ordinance here in public, and I know how you love that, Mr. May.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. Just a point of clarification here. This resolution does not prohibit the use of systemic products in our land management or practices, does it?
No, I think, again, as you read through this, it's an attempt, and that's why, again, I'm going to go back to the public's comment. We're not done. I think we're always looking for better, more appropriate means, but we'll evaluate things based on our integrated pest management to find out what the best, safest, and most practical method is to control our pest species.
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is emerald ash borer and how we're treating the ash trees. Right. That's a systemic. So I just want to make sure that people understand we're not prohibiting any particular practice. We want to make sure that we're utilizing best practice through consultation with different experts in different departments on how best to manage our resources in the city. Is that an accurate statement?
Councilmember Moore, I think you're exactly right, and I think our foresters have been, conversing with foresters up and down the Front Range. I think we do have some local agencies that have kind of painted themselves in a corner and now have some tools that they wish they could use and they can't to deal with emerald ash borer.
Okay. Back to organic and sustainable. I mean, I would be okay with putting organic and sustainable practices in that line 6 on page 3. That would be the motion I'll make to move Resolution 2017-53 with adding organic and or sustainable practices on line 6, page 3.
All right, the motion's been made with that slight modification to line 6 on page 3.
So it'll read organic and or sustainable.
Right. I'm fine. Councilmember Peck.
I really want this resolution, but I feel like if I don't want it to say organic and or sustainable and I vote against that, I'm voting against the resolution. So that's kind of a hard spot to be in. So I guess I'll vote for it, but I just like the way it reads. I think it covers exactly what we want.
Okay. Let's vote. That passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay. You guys want to take a break before we?
Oh, we're done. We're almost done.
All right.
We don't have visit Longmont board appointments. We're done.
Okay.
We just gotta finish it here.
All right, let's push through.
Mayor Coombs, your last item is the visit Longmont board appointments, and the two folks that were supposed to interview both had conflicts this evening. I do know that Visit Longmont is having some real difficulty getting a quorum, so I just need to know whether you want to move forward or bring them back for interviews.
Why don't we just appoint them?
I think we should. I'd like to meet them.
I want to meet at least one. There's one that I don't know.
Well, we know that. But we know Janine. Can we appoint Janine at least tonight, and then we? Pardon? Yeah.
Make the motion.
Okay. Let's.
So I think we need to introduce the item.
Yeah.
Did.
Or did you?
Visit Longmont board appointments.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we appoint Janine to, let's see, there's two positions. There's one that expires in 2018, through the 2018 term.
Second.
And he seconded it. So, Lynn, yeah. Landingham. Yeah, Landingham. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Landingham. So, is everybody all in favor of her to appoint her? Okay.
Can we repeat the motion since I had to leave the room, please?
It's to appoint Janine Van Landingham. Is that her?
Yeah,
I don't have it in front of me.
To the 2018 term.
To the 2018 term.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that passes 7-0.
So then do you want us to arrange for an interview with the other individual?
It sounds like, yeah.
Okay, so we can probably do that prior to one of your upcoming meetings, which would probably be not till June. Well, the June study session, we could do it, and then you can appoint on the 13th.
Okay. Councilmember Santos.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. Visit Longmont will have their retreat on June 7th. So they'll be down one board member, which I think should be fine. Had they been down two, I think would have been a problem. But since Janine reached out to us, yeah, I think it was appropriate to appoint her. The other one, I think we should definitely meet. And Sean and I will inform Nancy over at Visit Longmont that there's one more appointment coming.
Okay.
Actually, Sean will do that.
Okay, now it's time for final call. Public invited to be heard. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to come speak?
Hi, Brian Johnston, 926 Kaufman. And I'm of no relation to James and Georgetta Johnston, but I did run into them. I thought it would make everyone happy to know that they have housing and are happy and are in it. I thought you guys liked
Thank you. All right. Is there anybody else who would like to come speak?
Mayor and Council, Don Murray, 6 Princeton Circle. Thank you for approving the pollinator resolution. It's great to live in Longmont and have that. And since you've all voted for that, you should all take our pollinator pledge and help make your neighborhoods pollinator friendly. So I have one for each of you and more. Again, we're trying to make pollinator safe neighborhoods, and that's a concept of 75 contiguous households or yards together that have agreed to either use no systemic pesticides, which is level 1, level 2, which is even better, is no poisons in your yard, and that would mean that people have dandelions, and we shouldn't be criminalizing people for having dandelions. And then level 3 is also having plenty for pollinators, which I know you all do since you're all gardeners, right? I just want to read one thing that I didn't have in my remarks before, that, we're in the midst of a big chemical experiment. In a recent ruling in a lawsuit involving a Boulder County beekeeper, Tom Thibault, as a plaintiff, a federal court ruled that the EPA systematically violated the Endangered Species Act when it approved bee-killing insecticides known as neonicotinoids, and that the EPA had unlawfully issued 59 pesticide registrations between 2007 and 2012 for a wide variety of agricultural, landscaping, and ornamental uses. These poisons have never been fully vetted and are found in our yards, our fields, our farms, and our waterways. We don't know what the outcome of this is. This is affecting invertebrate species, waterborne species, and again, we're just in a big experiment. So what we can do and what you've done tonight is a good step in solving that problem. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that'd like to speak at final call? Public invited to be heard?
Good evening, Mayor Combs and Council. Strider Benston, 951 17th. I want to thank you for your discussion and really terrific presentation and vote on pollinators. Dandelions are about the best plant on the planet. They're most nutritious salad. The roots are liver builders and blood cleansers, and a lot of people know how to make wine out of the flowers. I mean, you couldn't have anything better than dandelions. But also, I didn't hear any mention of milkweed. We need to get a lot of milkweed planted because that is what the monarch butterflies go for. So thank you. You're on the right track. And my honor to Kay Fissinger, who some of you remember a decade ago when Henrietta Chicken came in here. And that was Kay. And now we have chickens in Longmont. Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else that'd like to come speak?
Since you're letting people go twice. I just wanted to do a quick clarification. The pollinators include honeybees, bumblebees, native bees. We have over 455 species of native bees, flies, wasps, dragonflies, butterflies, and even hummingbirds. So we're not, that study was about bumblebees. So when we say pollinators, we're covering a wide area. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? All right, I'm going to close. Final call, public invited to be heard. So now it's time for mayor and council comments. Councilmember Bagley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I just, not many people know this, but I loved Kay Fissinger. She was my friend. I first met Kay back when Brandon Schaefer, for better or for worse, appointed me to the governor's first oil and gas task force. And I just reached out to her, and I reached out to both sides, and Kay was kind of the head of the anti-fracking crowd, and I just said, I want to understand your point of view. I remember I picked her up and went out to lunch, and we talked about all kinds of things, and then we went over and sat in front of a fracking rig, and I just listened to her. And then we started talking about family and her daughter and why she moved to Longmont. And I always had a healthy respect for Kay. And honestly, I visited her in the hospital a couple times this last week, and I didn't think she'd die. I really didn't. Even though everybody said she was, I just was convinced that she would be back to yell at us soon. And so I think no matter what side of the political aisle you fall on, you cannot deny that she was very passionate and very effective in her discourse and in the way she just brought issues to council. And I think our community will miss her.
Councilmember Christensen.
I also would like to give some honor and respect to Kay. We'll, whatever, Kay could be very irritating, but she was usually right. And she was a great researcher, incredibly persistent, and she loved dressing up like a chicken. Apparently, I missed that one. And being in chorus lines, she was a really interesting woman, and she would be very happy to see so many people who came tonight to stand up for animals, because she loved animals too. So that's all I have to say tonight.
Well, I guess I'd like to say I'm very, very grateful for all the people in Longmont that get engaged with politics and come down here and talk to us. And doesn't mean I necessarily agree with everybody, but I mean, I just love people that care enough about anything to come down and speak to council. And this is such a great community, and I just hope that we never lose the citizens' engagement in our process. All right, and I don't see anybody else, so city manager, any comments?
No comments, Mayor, Council.
City attorney, any comments?
No comments, Mayor.
All right. This meeting is adjourned.